Hey guys, welcome back to Mind Your Conversions, brought to you by Fibrai. If you're new here, this is where we break down the art and science of marketing with our hosts, Jack and Emma. They will help you understand marketing better, explore fresh strategies, and most importantly, suggest you how to improve your website digital experience. So whether you're a seasoned pro, or even if you're just getting started, you're at the right place.
By 2028, the way you search the internet might be just completely unrecognizable.
Oh, absolutely. It's a total shift.
Yeah. In fact, traditional search could essentially be dead. We are looking at some projections today that suggest AI search traffic is poised to completely eclipse traditional organic search in just a few short years.
Right, which is just a wild timeline.
It really is. But okay, here is the piece of data that should actually make you stop in your tracks. Traffic coming from large language models. It converts at 9 times the rate of a traditional search.
9 times.
9 times.
I mean, that is a staggering metric, and it really signals a fundamental rewiring of user behavior.
Yeah.
Because we are moving from this web of passive retrieval, where you are handed a list of links and told to do the reading yourself, to an era of active generative synthesis. The machine is basically doing the heavy cognitive lifting for you.
And that is exactly what we are decoding today. Welcome to the deep dive. We have a fascinating stack of sources on the table for you today. Predictive data from SemRush, some really revealing consumer behavior reports from Adobe, and a breakdown of brand new analytics dashboards from fibrai.
Some really cutting-edge stuff in there.
Yeah, it's great. So our mission today is to figure out the mechanics of generative engine optimization. Like, how do you actually structure your digital presence so that an AI model chooses your content to synthesize and serve to the user?
Right, how do you get picked?
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this, because the Adobe report in our stack notes that 25% of retail consumers are already using generative AI to shop and compare prices.
A quarter of all shoppers.
Yeah. So this isn't some, speculative future problem. It is happening right now.
It is happening at a massive scale.
Okay.
And to understand why it's converting 9 times better, you really have to look at the psychology of the user at the exact moment of search.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, when someone gets an AI-generated overview, the model has already provided the context, it summarized the options, and it made a recommendation.
Right.
So the friction of decision-making has been radically reduced. That user is a highly motivated, primed buyer.
Because they didn't have to click through 6 different pop-up ads to find the answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the real question for anyone publishing content online is, how does the model decide whose information to trust when building that frictionless answer?
Right. And to visualize this, the sources highlight Google's Search Generative Experience, or SGE.
Yeah, SGE is a perfect example.
If you search for how to start social media marketing right now, you don't get a page of blue links anymore.
Yeah.
SGE jumps in right at the very top.
It just takes over the screen.
It totally does. It defines your strategy, suggests setting SMART goals, and literally attaches citation cards, like maybe an Adobe guide or a Reddit thread or a HubSpot video right next to its synthesized text. And studies in our material show that these AI overviews are now appearing for 84% of search queries.
84%.
I mean, if your site is one of those citation cards, you win the traffic lottery. If you aren't, you practically don't exist. It doesn't matter how good your article is. So how do we become the citation?
Well, to become the citation, we really have to stop thinking about these models as readers. We need to start understanding them as statistical pattern matchers.
Okay.
An LLM doesn't comprehend your article. It plots the words, or tokens as they're called, in this massive multidimensional mathematical space.
Wow, okay.
It is looking for statistical proximity between the user's prompt and your content. And according to the research, getting chosen by this pattern matching engine requires excelling in 4 specific areas.
Let's hear them.
Trust, clarity, freshness, and structure.
So trust, clarity, freshness, structure. If we think about the underlying mechanics here, the AI is essentially operating like a high-frequency trading algorithm, but for information.
That is a great way to put it.
It doesn't care about the beautiful narrative arc of your blog post. It doesn't want the backstory.
No, it really doesn't.
Right. I think of it like a highly intelligent but incredibly impatient librarian. The librarian doesn't want to read a whole novel to find one fact. They just want the index card. If you bury the answer to a question in paragraph 6, the mathematical distance between the search intent and your answer is just too vast. The algorithm abandons your page.
That is a highly accurate way to frame it. The computational cost of parsing a convoluted page is simply too high.
It literally costs them money to read your rambling intro.
Exactly. The models utilize what's called an attention mechanism. When they scan your document, they're deciding which words deserve the most computational attention.
Okay, that makes sense.
So if your page is a massive unstructured wall of text, the attention mechanism dilutes. The model can't figure out what is important, so it just assigns a low confidence score to your entire page and moves on to a competitor's site.
But wait, I have to push back on this.
Sure.
Because if we are optimizing everything for an attention mechanism, if we are desperately trying to reduce computational friction by just feeding the machine raw, rapid-fire facts, aren't we just dumbing down our writing?
This raises an important question.
I mean, aren't we flattening human expression to please a math equation?
It's the primary fear among creators right now, honestly. But if you look closely at the data in our sources, the models aren't asking you to dumb down the underlying concepts.
They aren't.
No, they are demanding structural clarity in the delivery. The experts in our sources actually suggest writing as if you are explaining a complex topic to a highly intelligent 12-year-old.
Oh, interesting. Because if a smart 12-year-old can follow the causal links, the AI's attention mechanism won't get lost in all the syntactic noise.
Precisely. You don't have to sacrifice nuance or depth. You just, can't hide that depth behind convoluted sentence structures.
Right, right.
It is about minimizing the cognitive load for both the human reader and the mathematical parser. If the logic is sequential and transparent, the LLM will assign a high confidence score to your tokens.
Okay, so if syntactic noise is the enemy, how do we actually construct the page? If the old SEO playbook was about organically weaving keywords into a narrative, this new playbook, Generative Engine Optimization, seems to be entirely structural.
It is very structural.
So what are the specific, actionable formatting strategies the sources recommend?
Well, the primary strategy is delivering the answer immediately. LLMs are trained to recognize and reward direct responses to implied questions.
Get straight to the point.
Right. So if your article is titled, "What is an LLM?" your opening sentence shouldn't be a winding introduction about the history of artificial intelligence.
Like, since the dawn of time, man has wondered about machines.
Exactly. Skip all of that. It should just be large language models, or LLMs, are AI systems trained on massive data sets to recognize patterns and generate text. You establish the core semantic entity right out of the gate.
You anchor the concept immediately, and then you can expand on the context underneath it.
Yes. And from a formatting perspective, you must use structural signposts. Remember, the AI is literally mapping your document. So your H2 and H3 subheadings, they act as distinct coordinate points in that map. Bulleted lists and data tables, they organize entities into highly recognizable clusters.
It's giving them a blueprint.
Exactly. And the sources highlight a study showing that rigorously applying these specific GEO formatting methods, giving the answer first, using strict heading hierarchies, and clustering data into tables, that can boost a piece of content's visibility in AI answers by up to 40%.
Wow, 40% boost. Just for structuring the data logically. That is wild.
It really is.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me. It's the trust pillar we mentioned earlier.
Yes.
The research indicates that adding relevant statistics from highly credible sources and then explicitly linking out to them increases your visibility in AI answers by 65.5%.
Huge jump.
Now, on the surface, that feels super counterintuitive to me. Why does linking out to a government study or an Adobe report boost my site's visibility? Shouldn't the AI just bypass my page and go straight to the original study?
That is a brilliant observation, and it really gets to the heart of how LLMs evaluate authority. They operate on graph theory.
Okay, graph theory.
Yeah, they view the internet as a massive network of nodes. When you explicitly link your claims to a highly authoritative domain, you are mathematically tethering your node to their node.
Oh, I see.
You are signaling to the model's retrieval system that your page is a verified, well-researched hub of information. The model doesn't just want the raw data, it wants a reliable synthesis.
So by doing the citation work for the AI, you elevate your own domain's trustworthiness score.
Exactly. You're proving you belong in the same semantic neighborhood as the experts.
I love that. Semantic neighborhood. Let me throw a practical problem at you, though, regarding that freshness pillar.
Sure, go for it.
Let's say I wrote the definitive guide to project management principles back in 2021. The core concepts. Defining scope, managing stakeholders, setting timelines, those haven't changed.
Right, the fundamentals are static.
Exactly. But if AI prioritizes recent data, How do I prove my page is fresh when the underlying facts are completely static?
The sources actually offer a fantastic real-world solution for this exact dilemma.
Oh, perfect.
Because you're right, an LLM will almost certainly categorize a 2021 article on project management tools as stale, even if the core theory is totally sound. The model maps time as a crucial dimension of relevance.
So it just ignores it.
Pretty much. But to fix this, you don't need to rewrite the entire piece. You just need to inject current entities into the vector space.
Okay, so I go into the article today in 2026 and I add a new section analyzing how AI tools like, say, Asana's new intelligence features or ClickUp AI are changing task delegation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By updating the meta title with the current year and injecting these new, highly relevant semantic entities into your text, you essentially force the AI to reevaluate the document.
That is so smart.
Yeah, the model sees the new entities, recognizes they are temporally relevant, and pulls your evergreen content back out of the graveyard. It basically proves the lights are still on at your domain.
It's basically a software patch for your content.
Totally. And this ties directly into another concept the sources emphasize really heavily, which is semantic depth.
Semantic depth. Let's dig into that.
It is critical. Because LLMs are trained to predict the next word, they inherently understand the whole ecosystem of a topic. They know what concepts naturally cluster together.
Let me see if I have a good analogy for this. It's like building a spider web of related concepts.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So if my core topic is email marketing, the AI is the spider navigating the web. If my web only consists of a single thread answering what is email marketing, the spider just falls off.
Right, there's nowhere else to go.
But if I anticipate the adjacent questions like what is the best time to send a newsletter or how do you improve open rates, and I bake those answers into an FAQ section at the bottom of the page, I am spinning a much denser web.
Yes, you go.
The more nodes I have in that specific semantic neighborhood, the higher the mathematical probability that the spider lands on my web and stays there.
That is a perfect visualization. Algorithms measure something called cosine similarity, which is just the mathematical distance between concepts.
Okay.
So open rates sits physically close to email marketing in the model's multidimensional map. By covering both, your document becomes mathematically denser and more authoritative.
So how do you find all those related concepts?
The easiest way to build this web is to look at Google's People Also Ask feature for your main topic and meticulously answer every single one of those adjacent queries within your content.
Okay, so we've built the perfect spider web. We've got H2s acting as coordinates, bullet points clustering our data, credible outward links establishing our authority, and incredible semantic depth.
A perfectly optimized node.
We've removed all the computational friction on our page, but here is the massive catch the sources bring up next.
Yes, the big reality check.
Even if your on-page vectors are flawlessly mapped, the AI is completely blind to it if its web crawlers don't trust your broader reputation.
It's true.
This brings us to digital footprints and tracking the unseen. We really have to talk about what is happening entirely off your website.
This is a major paradigm shift for anyone used to traditional SEO, because LLMs do not just build their overviews by reading your meticulously formatted blog posts.
You know they don't.
They are consensus models. During their training and retrieval phases, they scrape news outlets, industry forums, LinkedIn discussions, Reddit threads. They are looking to see if the wider neural network of the web actually agrees with your claims.
It's like throwing a party. You can have the best snacks and the best music, which is your optimized content, but nobody is going to show up if you don't send invitations across different neighborhoods. So if you claim your software is the best, but 100 threads on Reddit are complaining about your customer service, the AI synthesizes that negative sentiment.
It absolutely does.
You can't just optimize your own page, you have to optimize the conversation happening about you across the internet.
Precisely. Your brand needs to exist as an established entity across multiple high-authority domains. You need a distributed presence because the models are weighing the collective sentiment of the internet.
Which raises an incredibly difficult question for anyone listening. How on earth do you measure that?
It is the golden question right now.
Because traditional Google Search Console is basically useless here. It can tell me if I ranked number 3 for a specific keyword, but it cannot tell me if ChatGPT is summarizing my brand favorably in a private chat with a user.
No, it can't. You really have to look for secondary signals. You monitor unusual referral traffic spikes.
Okay, what does that look like?
If your analytics show a sudden, sustained burst of traffic from an unfamiliar domain, and you realize that domain belongs to an AI-driven platform that just cited you as a source, that is your GEO strategy actually paying off.
Ah, I see.
But to truly measure this, we have to look at the new breed of analytics tools emerging right now. The sources provided a detailed breakdown of a dashboard from a platform called fibrai, and it is honestly illuminating.
Yeah, I was completely engrossed by that fibrai dashboard breakdown in the reading. It moves way beyond just traffic volume.
Way beyond.
It evaluates brand visibility across 4 specific metrics: an overall GEO score, a mention rate, an average position, and crucially, sentiment.
Sentiment is key.
And the case study they highlighted for a money transfer brand named Wise was fascinating.
Let's break down that Wise example. On paper, their digital footprint looks absolutely impenetrable. The fibrai dashboard gives Wise a GEO score of 85 out of 100.
That's a great score.
Very high. Furthermore, they boast a 90% mention rate. That means out of 100 different AI queries regarding international money transfers, an LLM will explicitly mention Wise 90 times.
I mean, to any marketing team, a 90% mention rate sounds like absolute domination. You are essentially the default answer for the AI.
You would think so.
But the dashboard reveals a massive hidden vulnerability when you look at the sentiment analysis, particularly when you break it down model by model.
This is where the complexity of generative engine optimization really shows. Across most AI platforms, Wise enjoys very positive sentiment. But the dashboard isolates their performance on one specific AI model, which is Anthropic's Claude.
Right.
And on Claude, Wise has a dismal 10.5% positive sentiment score.
Wait, so Claude is bringing them up 90% of the time, but only saying nice things about them 10% of the time?
Basically, yes.
That is a nightmare scenario. But why would one model hate them when all the others love them? Aren't they all scraping the exact same internet?
They are scraping similar data, sure, but they are applying entirely different weights, guardrails, and reinforcement learning parameters.
Okay, explain that.
Well, Claude, for instance, is known for its constitutional AI approach, which heavily prioritizes safety and compliance.
Okay.
It is entirely possible that Claude's training data weights regulatory filings or specific financial compliance forms much heavier than ChatGPT does.
Oh, wow.
So if Wise had, say, a minor regulatory hiccup discussed on a niche financial blog, Claude might view that as a massive red flag, whereas ChatGPT might just focus on their high transaction volume and positive consumer reviews.
That is mind-blowing. So as a brand, you can't just say the AI likes us. You have to figure out which AI likes you. And if one of them is penalizing you, you have to reverse engineer its specific diet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it means you have to figure out what forums Claude is grazing in and go inject positive context directly into those specific domains.
So you are actively monitoring how AI talks about you, not just if it talks about you.
Yes. It fundamentally revolutionizes public relations. You are no longer just managing your reputation with human journalists. You are actively trying to shape the latent space of individual, distinct neural networks.
It is a whole new frontier to obsess over. But before we pull all these threads together, we need to cover the traps.
Good idea.
What are the absolute fastest ways to get ignored by the AI? What are the critical mistakes the sources say we must avoid?
The sources identify a few really fatal errors. The first one is keyword stuffing.
Oh, old school SEO.
Right. In the old days, repeating a phrase like best running shoes 15 times might have tricked a basic search algorithm. Today, stuffing keywords introduces massive syntactic noise. It ruins the clarity of your vector map, and the LLM's attention mechanism will heavily penalize the page.
Because it reads like spam, and the model is trained to filter out spam.
Exactly. The second pitfall is leaving outdated statistics online. We touched on this earlier, but it is really worth reiterating.
Yeah, freshness.
If an LLM detects that your node is pumping out data from 2018 that conflicts with the consensus of 2026 data, it doesn't just ignore that one sentence. It lowers the trust score for your entire domain.
Ouch. And the third pitfall the sources highlighted was technical crawl issues, specifically page speed and bloated code.
Yes, page speed is critical.
And I think it's vital to explain why page speed matters to an AI. It isn't because the AI gets impatient and wants a good user experience. It's about crawl budgets.
Right.
These companies are spending billions of dollars on compute power to scrape the web. The bot only has a fraction of a millisecond to allocate to your domain.
It has to move fast.
So if your site has massive uncompressed images or a bloated code structure that takes 3 seconds to load, the bot mathematically cannot afford to wait for your index card. It drops the connection and pulls the data from a faster competitor.
That is the harsh reality of the new architecture. Efficiency is honestly just as important as accuracy.
Okay, We have covered incredible ground today, from vector spaces to the fibrai dashboard. So what does this all mean for you listening? Let's synthesize the playbook.
Let's do it.
The ultimate takeaway here is that optimizing for AI overviews isn't some dark, impenetrable art. It is fundamentally about creating incredibly clear, structured, and trustworthy content. Treating content like a clear roadmap helps both the AI and the human reader.
Yes.
When you deliver direct answers, use H2s as precise coordinates, build a dense semantic spiderweb of related concepts, and back your claims with authoritative external links, you are doing the cognitive heavy lifting for the machine.
And the beautiful byproduct of structuring data perfectly for an AI is that it actually makes the reading experience infinitely clearer for the human on the other side of the screen.
Exactly.
That is the ultimate convergence here. And the urgency really cannot be overstated. With 18% of shoppers already relying on generative AI for tailored product recommendations, adapting to this framework just isn't optional anymore.
It's the new baseline.
It really is. Making your content rapidly machine readable is now an absolute prerequisite to ensuring it is ever human readable. If the attention mechanism can't parse it, the human will never even know it exists.
It is a complete paradigm shift in how human knowledge is indexed and discovered, which leaves us with one final, slightly mind-bending thought for you to ponder on your own.
Oh, I'm ready.
We have spent this entire deep dive decoding how to structure our human-written ideas so that an algorithm can efficiently extract the tokens and generate a brand new AI-written synthesis for the end user.
Right.
If we follow this trajectory to its logical conclusion, are we accelerating toward a digital ecosystem where machines are essentially just optimizing content to be read by other machines?
That is a fascinating way to look at it.
And as a creator, a writer, or an expert in your field, how do you ensure that your unique, unpredictable human voice doesn't get entirely flattened into a frictionless vector in the pursuit of the perfect AI citation?
It's a huge challenge.
It really is. Something to think about the next time you sit down to publish your ideas to the world.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Mind Your Conversions, brought to you by Fibrai. We hope you're walking away with fresh ideas and practical strategies to elevate your marketing and digital customer experience. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Thanks for listening. Until then, take care, and we'll see you next time.